I feel like arguing today. So
Uh-oh.
we are going to break down the top 5 factions of all time. Make sure you go in the comments and argue me. I can't wait to hear the rebuttals. This is Triple Threat Wrestling. Welcome back to the Triple Threat Wrestling Podcast. If by chance you are new here, be sure to subscribe. We drop daily wrestling content. My buddy MVP is here, and we are going to have a casual debate over the best factions of all time. How are you, MVP?
I'm good. How are you?
You know what? I'm here, and we're going to break it all down. So here we go. You can go first this week, because I went first last week.
I'm going to go with Evolution.
Solid pick.
Ric Flair, Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista. All bona fide stars, all world champion. All Batista's not a Hall of Famer yet. He kind of said, not this year, put me in next year, and it's never happened yet. Randy Orton, first ballot Hall of Famer when it's his time to go. But the faction was created to elevate two guys, which it did. Elevated Batista, who got into wrestling at an advanced age. And, they said Randy Orton is the next coal to be squeezed into the next diamond. They were dead on there. Randy Orton, one of the best ever. So,
Yep.
Going Evolution.
My number one. The OG Bloodline. Do we have an hour for me to discuss this?
Well, go for it. Go for it.
First of all, Roman Reigns was nothing spectacular until he developed the tribal chief gimmick. And that set him apart from the rest of his career. This is who he was always meant to be, is the tribal chief. And when you bring together the Usos with him, and it was just those three, that bloodline was amazing. And they had all the titles. They had the undisputed, both the undisputed and the world heavyweight title. They had both world tag team titles. They just, who's messing with the bloodline? And they have the greatest mouthpiece ever, Paul Heyman, with them. Everything was great. And then you bring in Sami Zayn. That added this. It was like the final pinch of a seasoning into a recipe that it was just incredible. Because it wasn't like they needed the comedy. Realistically, he was trying to get their respect. Like, he wanted to be part of them. So he just happened to be funny. They were all serious. But there's so many times that, like,
my dog,
they had fun with it. Like, they just had great fun with it. It wasn't like they had to go pretend to be a bloodline. It just, everything meshed, like, fitting their personalities. And I'll never forget when Sami Zayn was trying to protect Jey Uso, and he's like, it's not his fault, Roman. He's just not feeling very oozy. And then seeing Roman break character, he's like, that's what's going on here? You're not feeling very oozy?
Well, you better find this oozy.
Yeah. You better get oozy real quick. It was great. And you still have them around, but I do like how they're all apart, but if they need to come together, they will. So yeah, the number one for me is the OG Bloodline.
Let me ask you this. If the pandemic doesn't happen, do we get this bloodline?
You don't. Okay. Everything happened in wrestling history for a reason. Yeah. And first of all, Roman's sickness. If Roman never got sick again, he's probably not a main eventer right now. I don't think so, because no one wanted him. He was shoved on our throat so much. And then COVID, everything happened, like, not saying that the sickness was a good thing for him, but it helped take a step back. Look at the pandemic and all that. Take some months off and revitalize, and it was just a recipe for success. Unfortunately, a pandemic and a major illness had to happen for him to be majorly over, but here we are.
Number 2. My number 2 is Sierra Hotel India Echo Lima Delta
Shield.
Shield. The Shield.
I like it.
Originally came to WWE to the main roster to be CM Punk's henchman, and they ended up having growing out on their own, and arguably these three are the top guys of this business.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, aka John Moxley. Uh, Wherever they are, they're all killing it.
Would really love to see a Shield reunion one day. I don't know if we'll ever get it.
No, I don't think we will. Mox is very comfortable over at AEW.
Well, because they're throwing him money and he don't have to do much. It's not like they got millions of people to satisfy. But here we are.
The Shield.
My number 2. Are you ready? Degeneration
You
X.
can tell us what to do.
You think you could tell us what to do? I don't know why I did that. I'm talking Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and China. That faction, because it was the OG. It changed the course of wrestling history. Because you went from like Red Rooster and Repo Man to now this really cutting edge group. Red Rooster, bro. And he signs his autographs, by the way, with an R with like a chicken head thing next to it. It's so anyway. Anyway, Degeneration X, cutting edge. They're awesome. And they pushed the boundaries of what television would allow you to do. And, And okay, show of hands. Who's ever gotten yelled at for a Generation X shirt at school? I did. Oh, you didn't? Well, you were a good child.
I didn't own one. But I got a question.
Yeah.
Show of hands. Who's gotten in trouble at school because they told their teacher to suck it?
Not me. But that's badass of you.
You're a good kid.
Yeah. we were both good kids in our own right, but it was just a great thing. And China was like a really good addition to that because she was the enforcer, and it was crazy. And they did so many funny things too. Like, do you remember when they battled for the European Championship? And and Triple H runs back and forth like 7-8 times, and then they just pushed the boundaries. And their interactions with Sergeant Slaughter, Commissioner Slaughter, awesome. It was just great entertainment, and I think that really turned wrestling from like a wrestling federation to entertainment, because it was more entertaining than the wrestling aspect of it. So they're pioneers in it, breaking the ground for what we know now. And Degeneration X is my number 2.
My number 3 came when wrestling was kind of at a kind of bland, kind of and this pretty much really shot the first shots of the Monday Night War and made wrestling the hottest. I'm talking about when Hall and Nash jump ship from the WWF and appear on Monday Nitro, challenging WCW to a match at Bash at the Beach. How they were going to have their third guy, and their third guy being Hulk Hogan, and then forms the NWO. That's my number 3.
New World Order.
Yep. And then this the storyline for the NWO years. Originally a concept in Japan, which is an organization within an organization, but in WCW they made it like a separate entity. And then when they took over, they really took over. I mean, NWO had their own pay per view.
Yep, sold out.
Yep. And then they even changed the sign to NWO Monday Nitro.
Yeah.
And then you find out all along Eric Bischoff backed it. And with the boss, a part of your side, they were unstoppable. NWO, they held every title. They wrecked shop in WCW for years. I mean, you can one of the most iconic videos of Kevin Nash throwing Rey Mysterio into the trailer like a lawn dart.
Yep.
Just spray painting everyone's back, NWO. Spray painting the belts, NWO. You could not go to school without seeing at least like 10 NWO shirts.
Yeah. Yep. That was peak wrestling in school.
Peak wrestling. Wrestling was so hot. Around the time I got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so NWO is my number 3.
You know, I'm guilty as charged. Not a ECW pay-per-view, but I'm guilty as charged because I got you into wrestling.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So my number 3 is when these guys came in, it was something we had never seen before. And they were scary. And they made it so that, like, it was just great. It started the Firefly movement, where you just got everyone on your side. And I'm talking the Wyatt family. Yep.
They're here.
They were great. You had 2 powerhouses. You had Bray Wyatt in the rocking chair with the lantern. And the gimmick felt very fresh. Like, you know, they were very good. And there was a certain matter of time before they ended up crossing roads, no pun intended to Cody Rhodes, but they crossed roads with the Shield. And it set up a very great rivalry between them.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was so good, man. I mean, Bray Wyatt was so good in that role. And this is before he had to keep evolving, but like that original Louisiana down fighting alligator kind of feel to it. Like,
oh yeah,
man, that was amazing. I love the Wyatt family. And for that reason, they'll be number 3.
Bray Wyatt was just so creative.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
Finally got a character he can sink his teeth into, and he freaking ran with it.
And I did say in the beginning of this that I want to argue. So I'm going to make a hot take. And if you're still watching, I know that you're going to comment and you're going to argue with me. But the Wyatt 6 is a disgrace to the Wyatt family name.
Well, they don't have Bray Wyatt.
You know what? Then don't do it. If you have no plan to make it good, don't do it. It was a great one-off when they started coming around, and they're trying to make it stick, and there's nothing for it to stick to.
Well, they're on SmackDown now. If they ever plan on, revisiting it, it kind of looks like it's on the shelf right now.
We'll see.
We'll see, indeed. What are we at? 4?
You are number 4, yeah.
My number 4. I know you're not big a fan of NXT like I am, but we're going back to black and gold NXT, and this faction just wreaked havoc in NXT. I'm going Undisputed Era.
All right. I'm familiar. I know some of these words, but what does it all mean, MVP?
Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and later Roderick Strong. They held every title, even the North American title, which was introduced around the time they came in. Um, and they like every combination of the four you've had different tags with.
Yeah.
So Cole and O'Reilly, Cole and Fish and Strong, O'Reilly and Strong, Cole and Strong. You've had every combo, um, and all four individually great talents. Um, but Adam Cole definitely was the star there, and um, if it wasn't for an injury, uh, he'd be wrecking shop in AEW right now. I mean, he's getting it back into the swing of things, but he's been injured a long time there.
Yeah.
Um, and Roger Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly at the end of his NXT run, it really could have looked like he could have been NXT champion, but then he left. Um, I don't know, and Undisputed Era, if they had a chance to get up on the main roster, I mean, they did for Survivor Series, but I mean, like a real run on the main roster in WWE. I think we'd still be talking about them as one of the greatest factions um, of today.
Yeah.
So Undisputed Era is my number 4.
Yeah. MVP, I think I'm feeling my hand cramp up for my number 4 pick. You see what I'm doing here?
That's what
Fourth
you're
pick
doing.
is the Four Horsemen. It's a simple little gesture. You just throw up 4 fingers, and you're a brotherhood for life. Feels like like one of those fat or fraternities in college. Like all you gotta do is throw this up. The rest takes care of itself. But I'm going with the version of Ric Flair, the Enforcer Arn Anderson, Mongo Steve McMichael. It's Steve Mongo McMichael. I fucked it up. But anyway, and there's this weird guy that came around. He wasn't around too long, but his name was Crispin Waugh. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but yeah, that's a different topic. But anyway, those 4 were incredible
Mhm.
together, and it was vicious. I liked it, and Ric Flair is like that front man for it. Was good, but the whole faction has a history dating back to with Barry Windham and them boys back then. That it
Yep.
just so yeah, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, they were all part of it, and it's great. So my 4th pick is the Four Horsemen.
My favorite iteration of the Four Horsemen was Flair, Mongo, Wah, and Dean Malenko.
Okay, yeah, Dean Malenko, the Iceman,
Yep.
the man of 1,000 holds
Won the tag titles with Wah.
with Wah.
My number 5. Oh, they just turned heel.
They just turned heel.
They just turned heel. They're not a faction anymore, but they were the New Day.
It is a new day now.
For a while, they were the longest reigning WWE tag champs until the Usos dethroned them. Um, you had Kofi Kingston, who had one of the best runs of his career. I forgot which Mania this was, but Kofi Mania, where he won the WWE Championship against Daniel Bryan. And then you have Big E, who cashed in Money in the Bank on Bobby Lashley and won his first WWE Championship. It's a shame of what happened to him getting dumped on the top of his head, broke his neck, and might not ever get cleared ever again. But when they were a trio, they they were damn near unstoppable and entertaining to boot.
Yeah, with the bootios and the
Yep.
pancakes. Yeah.
They beat you down and make you laugh while doing it. They come
Their
to the
music.
ring with pancakes.
Yeah, they do.
And then they had the Bootio cereal.
Yes, they did. See what I did there?
Yes, I did. My number 5 is the New Day.
Not as much as I like my number 5. We walk alone through the unknown. We walk that the Nexus, by the way, if no one caught on to that.
Great entrance music.
Oh, it's in my workout playlist.
Same.
The
And
intro is great.
I like walking through every door with that song.
Yeah. Walking to the nail salon. We walk alone. But it was great because I think, okay, hot take. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of like 4 moments in the last like 15 years. Very few moments that had me on the edge of my seat where I was very excited to see something so fresh like that. You have all 8 rookies from your NXT show, and they said, you know what? F this. We're taking over. We're all going to come out and take over. And you put them over because the first person they take out is John Cena, the face of your organization. Yeah. And you wreak havoc to where, like, when I saw that, I was like, I haven't been this excited for something in a very long time, wrestling wise. Like, things make me excited. I like certain things, right? But like, I'm talking like something so fresh that you haven't seen before. It's not recycled. It was just perfect. You know, like you couldn't do that now because we're so used to that we've seen it that you could never replicate it.
Well, when it happened, I'm like, is this supposed to happen? Because the way they took the ring down, it wasn't taken down like that before on TV, where they took everything.
Yep.
Down to bare plywood. Like we always heard the rings, they're made of plywood. You never saw it exposed though. They always had those mats, and then the Nexus went ahead and exposed that plywood, and then choking out ring announcers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a wild time, and Wade Barrett was the perfect face for that faction. And I mean, come on, like he won a match to like make John Cena do his bidding. You know, it was just awesome. Yep. So Nexus has got to be number 5 for me. It's got to be.
Okay.
Do you have honorable mentions?
I do. I know we're this podcast is not big fans of AEW, but I do have to shout out the Blackpool Combat Club. And you have Bryan Danielson, you have Claudio, and you have Jon Moxley. All main event caliber talent, all world champion material. And then you have the guy that they're taking under their wing in Wheeler Yuta, who nobody cares about. Yeah. And you know what? Really wouldn't be doing my job here if I don't mention the Judgment Day.
Low key, yeah.
I mean, they were head to head with the Bloodline.
Yeah.
So yeah. How about you, Lucky?
I got 2. I have the Bret Hart, Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Owen Hart. I said Owen Hart, and Brian Pillman and all them. The Hart Foundation.
The New Hart Foundation.
The New Hart Foundation. First of all, they were heels. Bret Hart did a fantastic job getting heat on that. Yep. And it was a very good faction because I like factions that like don't always have to cheat to win. Like Bret Hart was very good in that role, and you know, the Hart Foundation was great. And then the next one I have, another faction that was just awesome, the Nation of Domination. It catapulted a couple of stars to mid card champions, and yep, Nation of Domination, and I mean, gave The Rock his start after Die
Mhm.
Rocky Die Chance. That helped him transition to where he needed to be,
Yep.
and I loved it. I thought it was great. Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown, Farouk, The Rock. I don't think I'm missing anyone. I think it was those four.
Owen
Oh, and
Hart.
well, Owen Hart at one point, but I said Mark Henry. What was his name? Kama. It was the Godfather, but he was Kama in the Nation of Domination.
Kama the Fighting Machine.
Yep.
Kama
I love the Nation of
Mustafa.
Domination. I loved it, and I thought it was another fresh faction that just felt like you haven't seen it before, and it felt
Yeah.
good. So those are my honorable mentions. Again, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. We drop daily wrestling content. That was our top 5 factions of all time. Make sure the link right here for the WWE shop link. Make sure you please check that out. It's no extra money, but you help support your boys at the Triple Threat Wrestling Podcast so we can get Matt another arm for his microphone because he needs it. So, until next time, we'll see you.